with all the big calls on all the big races. Welcome to another edition of What a Shout, filmed every Friday morning in the capital. The Racing Post flagship weekend feature show. Dave Orton back in the chair as ever, steering you through what promises to be a bumper show. 2 for the price of 1 today, but I shall leave that out there. Who've we got? Of course, Paul Kealy. No Paul Kealy in the studio, I have to say that. So, let's go. I know he's Epsom somewhere. Kills, are you out there?
I am, mate. How are you? Yeah, I'm off today, so I didn't think I'd traipse into the office for this, but, you got me for an hour or so.
We've got you for an hour. And now, we're supposed to be coming out of lockdown, Kills. All the viewers will remember when we had you at Skype. It's like we've gone back to January, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, it's such a nice day. I didn't want to waste it coming in on a train, did I? Not if I don't have to.
Leave that to Orton. Yeah, fair enough. Of course, listen, we all know that we film on Friday today. We've got the first day of the Ayr Grand National meeting, of course, and a great card at Newbury. Informative stuff on the flat. What a week it's been. But Prince Philip has his funeral tomorrow, so all the action has quite rightly been moved to Sunday. So we have a little bit longer for you to go through What a Shout and to be previewed. Pat Cooney from our sponsors, Bet365. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here loud and clear, Dave. Bit of a sore throat, but I've passed the vet and I'm definitely going to run.
You've been cheering home the winners, Pat, this week, have you?
There's been a few winners, but just great to have the flat back and something for everyone this Sunday, isn't it? Flat and jumps.
Absolutely. Right, so Scottish Grand National on Sunday is the feature race of the weekend. So who better to come to you than the leading national hunt trainer north of the border from Arlery Stables? There she is, Lucinda Russell. Thank you for joining us, Lucinda. Marvellous. Great to have you, Lucinda. It's all national season, Lucinda, of course, isn't it? We go back 4 years ago and you cracked the big race with One for Arthur, one of my absolute favourites. Let's get some stats up on the screen for Lucinda. You can see her top horses coming on the screen by Racing Post rating. We've ordered them. Some real favourites there. Of course, One for Arthur. I suppose he has to be the big flagship runner for you over the years, Lucinda.
Yeah, I mean, he was a fantastic horse, and he was a horse that didn't start with a big bang. He was only second in his bumper, but he certainly achieved a heck of a lot. And I was just delighted. It's every little girl's dream to win the National, as we know, and to win it as a trainer was fantastic. It was just out of this world. Yeah,
amazing. We will be looking back at, of course, last week's record-breaking Grand National. But some of the horses that you've had, Lucinda, over the years, and of course, you've had 2 Grade 1 winners. We all remember in 2012, Brindisi Breeze winning the Albert Bartlett. You have had some very good staying hurdlers over the year. Live for It. Who remembers him? An absolute rocker he was, wasn't it? But Ahoy Senor, again, that doubled your tally in Grade 1s. That was, of course, at this year's Grand National meeting.
Yeah, it's rather embarrassing. I've only won 2, but yeah, he's a really nice horse. And as you say, we seem to do very well with the stayers and staying hurdlers as much as staying chasers. He probably a little bit, but he was working so well at home. We thought we'd take a crack at it, and it certainly paid off. Fortune favours the brave sometimes.
Oh, absolutely, quite. And didn't he win? And Pat Cooney, you're curious about this horse.
Yeah, I was going to ask Lucinda, actually, us poor old bookmakers, we were having a bad Friday last week. Chantry House had won, back here to Doodah, Live, Love, Laugh. And there were loads of money going on Bravesman's game. And we were watching the Ahoy Senor and we were thinking, okay, he's in front. Yeah, they'll catch him soon enough. And we just thought it was a wonderful performance. I just wanted to know a little bit more about the horse, really. Where did you get him, his background? And crucially, what is he going to do next year? Are you going to go hurdles or over fences? He's a horse with a big future, we think.
Yeah, so we it's hard for us to match the really crazy money that they pay for these Irish point-to-pointers. And we've always done really well with the point-to-pointers. That's what One for Arthur was. So when we went to the sales, we're going to have to take a little different view on it because they've kind of priced, the 4-year-old winners have priced themselves out of our market. So we started looking at some of the British point-to-pointers, and that's where he came from. He'd only run, I mean, he was 50,000 at the sales, which is a lot of money in the real world, but in the horse racing purchase world, it's not a huge amount. He'd run in a small field point-to-point, and the favourite had fallen behind him. So the form wasn't fantastic, but I spoke to Carl Evans, who goes to all the point-to-points, and he said that horse was very impressive. And sure enough, when you look at it on the video, we've got a chap called Paul McIver who used to work in Timeform, and he watches all the races for us before we buy horses. And he said he's just relentless, and his speed was very, very good for that point to point. So we were really pleased. Actually, the reserve was 50,000, and I think we were the only bid, which always makes you a little bit anxious because you think, crikey, is there something that we don't know that everyone else does? But he was just such a lovely horse, and he's a big horse, very powerful horse, and was just one that, for me, stood out at the sales. We bought another horse called Correct Rambler. Skew liked him, and he's won 2 female hurdles as well. So it was a good sale for us.
Peter came in, your partner, Peter Scudamore, of course, 8-time champion jockey in his time over jumps. He came down into this studio, would you believe it, and did one of the early water shouts. If he'd had it his way, I think he'd still be here talking now. But it's a sign of the times, Lucinda, and a great thing, actually, that we've learned through this COVID pandemic, that we've had all these Skype calls. You've got a really crystal clear picture this morning, Lucinda, I have to say, that we can reach so far. How has the stable, in general, you have 748 winners. Is it 35 winners this season since we came back, racing has resumed? How have you coped?
It's been good. So this is actually a log cabin. That's the that is the champion hurdle trophy that Skew won in 1993. Just for I had to have Skew here somehow in some way in the picture. So this is a log cabin that we have for the owners to come and have a drink in and see the horses, and it's been very empty. But we've had a really good time. I think the staff have been fantastic. After lockdown, we refined things a bit, and the team that we've got now, we always say it, but we really do have the best team I think that we've ever had. And everyone is helping with the horses at every stage, but everyone's backing them out. The jockeys work really, really hard, and it's brought a real team ethos into it. And it's really worked very, very well. We're really on top of all the horses, and I think you're right. I think we've had a really good season. It's been sad without the owners, and really sad. There's no atmosphere at the races because there aren't the sort of betting public there, but it's getting better, and I think we're on the way up now. So we've got a few owners coming back today. So hopefully it'll keep on getting better.
It looks like we're coming out. I mean, we've got Brighton coming back for the first time in 18 months. Can't wait for that on Saturday night. Course record holder there, of course, Paula Victoire. All things are looking good. I love that. You had to have Skew somewhere on the show, didn't you? He's probably behind you with a script, I'd imagine, isn't he, behind the camera? Typical Pete.
Do you want to speak to him? He's just there.
No, we'll never get him off the camera. Scoop, best wishes to you. There he is. You never know what's going to happen. Looks like he's going skiing. Absolutely fantastic. In the log cabin and everything. You sure you're not in Switzerland? They could well be, couldn't they? Okay, great stuff. Lovely to have Lucinda on. Paul Kealy going to give you all his punting pearls. Let's see what's happening on this week's show then. Okay, Rachael makes Grand National history. Fantastic. That's the hot topic. It had to be, didn't it? We'll be giving you all the racing clues from the past week. We'll be looking at the big race previews, Newbury and Ayr on Sunday. Some big calls and, of course, the all-important weekend winners. If you'd like to sign up to our sponsors, Bet365 now continues to be a great time to do so. Why? Because we have a referral code still running. Just when joining, type in SHOUT365, minimum £5 deposit for up to 100 bet credits. Term conditions, they apply. Hot topic time. Rachael makes Grand National history. So last Saturday, 5:15, of course, as ever, wasn't it? Thank goodness the Grand National was back. And what a race it promised to be. Cloth cap pulled up everyone's hot pot, I think. Looked like some breathing issues there. Hopefully he'll get back on track for another crack. Whew, Kills, perhaps I'll come to you first. Just an outlook of the race. I mean, they went a searching pace, didn't they? And then 3 out, we started sensing something unbelievable might be about to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about unbelievable. She was only on a 12-1 shot, wasn't she? I mean, at some point in our lives, we're going to have to start taking this as being normal. You know what I mean? She is a fantastic jockey, probably, if not the best around, one of the very best around at the moment. And and a point that Chris Cook made, I think not so long ago, was, Rachael Blackmore isn't superhuman for a woman. It doesn't mean that she's the only one that can do it. The fact that she's done it should hopefully open up the door for lots more. All you've got to be is that talented. It's very hard to be that talented because she's as talented as anybody else in the game right now. But at some point, we're just going to say, what a great ride by Rachael Blackmore. Obviously, you have to make a fuss over it being the first, but if you think she couldn't ride a second or even a third, you'd be wrong. She nearly won the Gold Cup as well as the Champion Chase. She was top jockey at the Cheltenham Festival. She just is brilliant, every bit as good as the men. that are around at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think superhuman is quite right. Of course, perhaps the trainer of the most famous Grand National horse of all time, or perhaps there'll ever be, Red Rum, Ginger McCain, famously said, a female will never win the Grand National. Now, we know the race has changed, Lucinda, but I think we're going to have to check that Rachael is actually human because of what she did at the Cheltenham Festival as well. I mean, she's just winning everything, right?
She's just amazing, but she's just a very, very good jockey. And, you can go back over the whole females, should they be jockeys and can they take the falls? She's got the resilience. She's got, as we saw at Cheltenham, she kept falling off and then she'd win the next race. I mean, she's got the ability, she's got the mental strength to do that. Whether that comes with a bit of age, she's it's not that she's 17 years old and doing it. She's able to think her way through it. And I think she's just amazing. I think she's one of my heroines for sure. I think she's got the ability. She's got a cool head on her. She can think through the race. And you're right. It doesn't mean that every woman is going to be able to be a jockey, but then not every person is able to be a jockey. I think it just throws out the window any sort of idea about sexism. That's all.
Yeah, and let's stick with you, Lucinda. Did you find, obviously, when you became, female training winner of one for Arthur in the Grand National, did you find extra attention because of that?
No, but it's funny because you talk about Ginger McCain. I remember when I first started training about 97 or 98, I was at a function and Ginger came up to me and said, women shouldn't train. And I was quite surprised. I thought he was being really serious, but that was his sense of humour. That was him. And it kind of sparked you on and made you even more determined. And it was only when I got to know him better that I realised that actually it was all just a Mickey take. He wasn't actually very serious about it. I mean, he'd be delighted about Rachael Blackmore. He really would be. So did I get more publicity because of a woman? I think actually, thankfully, by sort of 2017, I think that's starting to wane a bit, and I think it will wane. I think in 5 years' time, we won't be even mentioning it, and that's how it should be. Other sports, other horse sports, you look to 3-day eventing, and the women have always been almost dominant actually to the men. So I don't think there'll be any difference in 5 years' time.
No, absolutely quite right. That's exactly how it should be. I said unbelievable to Kills, of course, mainly because of the mainstream attention that the race had. It was great to see it back again, wasn't it, on the backsplash of the mainstream national newspapers. Pat Cooney, let's come to you. Paul Kealy quite rightly says that she was short enough in the betting. But is this a sign of the times, Pat, that, I mean, Manila Times didn't tick historically a lot of boxes for the race. So yes, of course, he had some decent form to his name, but he had stamina to tick. He hadn't won, the right sort of purse of the race. But yeah, he's short in the betting, that Blackmore factor.
Yes, the Blackmore factor over the jumps and certainly Holly Doyle on the flat. Put it this way, David, Holly Doyle's got 6 rides. We're just going to lay her in a Hines with all her selections. And Rachael Blackmore, no surprise to anyone in the business that she's ridden the Grand National winner, is it? But she's reached out to the mainstream. And I would say that when we were doing our sums, on the Friday, we were thinking Manila Times should probably go off a single figure price. But that one to go off at 11-1, that really hurt with the best odds guaranteed. But we got the day we wanted to as bookmakers, like last week. Man City amazingly were beaten at home by Leeds at a massive odds on. So we were pretty much assured of a winning day, whatever happened, such as the size of the football product. And really with Manila Times, we got racing on the front page. And although it was a losing race for us, it wasn't a disaster. If you'd said to us, they're all going to come back safe and sound, racing will be on the front page, and a nice set of people own the winner, JP McManus, the Bromhead, Rachael, it was just a good result for us all around. So we'll take that again next year as well if we could.
So the sun was shining last weekend at Aintree. The Grand National meeting is done and dusted. Rachael Blackmore, Henry de Bromhead 1-2 in the Grand National. Wasn't it great? A sign of the changing times. Happy days. Racing Clues just happened to be a Grand National meeting last weekend, didn't they? Happy days. Rachael Blackmore taking out, of course, the world's greatest race on Manila Times. And Henry de Bromhead kills as well. You couldn't really make this up, could you? I mean, in January, we never thought anything like this would have gone their way, would we?
No, not quite the way it has. But, that's what happens in racing, isn't it? You get surprises all the time.
And what about the form of the race, Kills? Any second now, I was on that. Am I talking through my pocket and feeling I was a little bit unfortunate?
Yeah, it might have been because as one horse going right in front of you doesn't help, does he? And he did get knocked right back and lost his momentum. I thought the winner won with plenty of hand, though, to be honest. Don't think Burrows Saint stayed. So yeah, I wouldn't. I can understand where you're coming from. But I think there was a there was a fair bit in hand for the winner as well.
1-2, of course, Henry de Bromhead with Balgo de Flo filling the second spot. Further back, Farclas caught my eye as well, guys. He was only a 7-year-old going into the race. I'm not saying he's an ex-Tiger Roll, but I love this horse. He's a real trier, and if experience is anything to go by, I'm certain that they'll aim him at the race next year. Pat Cooney, your national thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it could even have been a 1-2-3 for Henry de Bromhead. I think Chris's Dream was going quite well, and that came down about 4 out. Still very much in the race with a sort of a chance. Maybe he would have had the first, second, and third, which would have just been unbelievable. But he's certainly one to bear in mind as well, I think. So there's plenty of staying handicaps in Ireland. I would imagine he could land one of those two next season.
It was a great festival kill sticking with you as well. So the first 6 favourites on the Saturday one, didn't they? What do you make of my Drogo, man?
First 6 favourites. If the first 6 favourites in any card win, then I've done it in. So no, it wasn't great for me.
Just not the way. It took a long time, though, Kills, for that to happen for punters, didn't they? I mean, I was getting messages. I was in this studio doing a live show, and I was getting messages left, right, and said, I've got the crown jewels.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I just don't tend to play that way. And when it happens, I pay for it. That's my choice. That's the way I go. My Drogo, I didn't bother backing against him. I think he's a very, very good horse. It'll be fascinating to see how far he can go over fences next year. Dan Skelton has said all along that this is a chaser, not a hurdler. What he's done over hurdlers, he probably is the best British trained hurdler. That might not be saying much, but he probably isn't that. He isn't a mile behind the best in Ireland. He's behind them for sure, but he's a very, very good horse. And you see the way Dan Skelton gets some of his horses to jump. I mean, have a look at
Shamblu.
Blue, for instance, and Protectorat when he started. Obviously, he won a grade 1 on the card. And he starts jumping like him, and All Mankind, when All Mankind was good. If he can get my Drogo to jump as well as them, particularly Shamblu, then he's going to be a real, real good horse.
Should we talk about the Topham, Kills?
Do we have to?
If you were in the studio, I'd be giving you pelters about this, but you were in the office when it ran. I was in the studio. You broke the sound barrier, man.
Listen, it was all. Listen, it was a successful race for me punting wise. I did say that. I did say that if he hit 10 or 11 on the exchanges, then I might play, and I did. But obviously, for 2 years we've been hatching the plan to win that race with Live, Love, Laugh, and I said to Joe Chambers, Victoria's racing manager, after that national one, you've got to run him in that because he'll win it. And then it comes to the day, and I'm hoping to get a bigger price, so I ended up jumping off it, tipping something else, and of course the one I tipped happened to be the second. He was 100 to 1 in places, in a couple of places the day before, and he's run an absolute cracker. I did think he was going to win coming to the last, but Patrick Mullins did give Live, Love, Laugh a beauty of a ride and held on to plenty. And he, for a horse that only won one of 18 starts before he went away like he'd been doing it all his life. So no complaints. You make your own decisions. You pay for them, don't you?
Oh, listen, pretty much you had the forecast, didn't you? I remember previewing the race with you on What a Shout. It was 9-2 at the time, wasn't it? So you can't be tipping that. But yeah, listen, I bet Patrick Mullins about 2 out thought Live, Love, Laugh's going to do what Live, Love, Laugh does, but he found an extra gear. Pat Cooney, let's come to you for some national thoughts away from the big race. The card, 6 favourites, then punters in heaven.
Yeah, it was entertaining, wasn't it? And character building, I must say. But one horse, one of the favourites that did win at Aintree, I was very impressed with. Happy Go Lucky for Kim Bailey's. And it just jumped for fun, travels, jumps, does whatever you like. Still a lightly raced horse. I think he only went up 8 pounds. I say only went up. He went up £8 for the win, but he won by a handy 2 3/4 lengths. He looks a horse that's tailor-made for all these top staying chases going forward next season. He's in the right hands, isn't he? And the good old flat's back. And at Newmarket, you always get unlucky losers. And there was one on yesterday, Jumbie of Eve Johnson Houghton. I'm not saying he would have won, but everything went wrong for the horse from start to finish. Maybe Newmarket wouldn't be his cup of tea, but already the notebook and the trackers are filling up nicely on this flat race. There always seems to be unlucky losers at Newmarket, and Jumbie was definitely one of them. He'll win a big race, I'm sure, on the flat.
Yeah, let's give a final word to Newmarket then, whether it be the Nelgrin or the Crave. I'm not totally sure. Master of Seas like him, Labarossa, the 1-2 for Godolphin in the Crave. I'm not sure we've seen the Guineas winner there. But we also had the Abernant Stakes as well. And I'll tell you what, Kills, another advert that we're seeing for campaigning your horses aggressively. Summerhand beating the hot favourite Oxted. Oxted will bounce back, by the way. But that was great to see, Kills, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's just a tough and reliable sprinter, isn't he? He just enjoys it. He just enjoys the game, and he's gone on. He's gone on one at the all-weather meeting. He's come out and done that to a Group 1 winner. Now, how far below form Oxted was, we don't know. The issue, obviously, he had that bad run in Riyadh on dirt. May have taken some time to get over it. May have needed that run a little bit, but even so, Summergan. And he come from way off the pace as well, didn't he? And not that many horses have been doing that in Newmarket. So, yeah, he's just a really likeable horse, isn't he?
Yeah, handicap's out now for Summerhand. I think we'll find he's going to have to take on the big boys in the sprint division. 225 at Ayr in Scotland on Saturday is the Scottish Champion Hurdle. This is a race, Kills, isn't it, where horses, they sort of have this as their target a long way out. And I know you really like one in it.
They can do. I wouldn't suggest that this one has had it as a target a long way out. It's time white for Paul Nicholls, but I think he's actually showed up a bit better than it has looked on his last two runs. He was 9th in the Betfair Hurdle night for 23, and then 12th in the County Hurdle at Cheltenham. And at Cheltenham, he just travelled really, really well, started to make ground, turning into the straight. I don't think he stays. He gets home really over that sort of trip. 2 mile, 1 furlong, long running. And I think he's going to be much, much happier over this quick 2 mile at Ayr. I think when Verdana Blue won the race 2 years ago, it was something like 20 seconds faster than Belfast Banter's County Hurdle, which will tell you how much less of a stamina test it is. And I think the way he travels, he can get a lot closer to Milkwood, who was 3rd in the county, give him a race. Now Milk was a fully deserving favourite after that effort. And you've got to give a lot of respect to the Dan Skelton horse Calico, although I don't think that one is particularly well handicapped on what he's done. It might not make any difference if he makes that sort of improvement that sometimes Skelton horses make when they go into handicaps. But I think Time White is better than he's shown, and I think he'll run a big race.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get down to Nicholls at Ditchy when we were in the middle of lockdown, and this was a horse that he kept mentioning to me on camera, off camera, and I know they were quite happy of a big run potentially for him at Cheltenham. I think the good thing is, Kills, if you look at Milkwood, he had a hard race with Third Time Lucky, didn't he? Who let the form down. I think we can say that behind Belfast Banner, but they went at it some way out. So I think Milkwood's vulnerable as well, Kills.
Yeah, definitely think he could be. He's another very strong traveller who likes good ground, though, so he probably has got his conditions. And, given the way he travels, I doubt the less stiff track will bother him. So I'd still give him plenty of respect. And, Third Time Lucky might have let the form down, but Belfast Banter didn't, did he?
No, it was just that they went at it such a long way out. I wonder if Milkwood left something on the table. Another horse I want to ask you about, Kills, because Tommy's Oscar, this horse just knows how to win, doesn't he? And I know you're a fan. Why are you overlooking him?
Yeah, I do like Tommy's Oscar. I wonder if he's going to end up wanting a little bit further. I know he's got plenty of form at sharpish 2 miles, and whether he might want a bit of cut as well. I think conditions might have quickened up a bit, but I do like the horse. He's gone up a fair bit in the weights, obviously, and he's been very busy. That'd be the other thing that will worry me.
Yeah, I thought Calico was one to take on. It's a race that I'm weighing up, but Tommy's Oscar, I find him hard to make out the frame, that's for sure. Pat Cooney.
Yeah, I keep coming back to Milkwood, really, Dave. 3rd in the County Hurdle, 3rd of 25, so still beat 20 other runners. It's gone up £2, but if it hadn't, there wasn't a first and second that day. To only go up £2 for winning a County Hurdle would be deemed lenient. So from a handicapping point of view, I think Milkwood's got the form. The winner of the race, of course, Belfast Banter, won a Grade 1, as Kealy said last week at Aintree. The form is there, the ground is there. And the vet said gelding lost its hind shoe in the County Hurdle. So when that happened, I don't know. So maybe you could rate this one a little bit higher as well. A lot in its favour, I think, a deserving favourite. I'm expecting a big run from Milkwood.
Milkwood then for Pat Cooney. Are you fancying the Jolly as well? If so, get your comments in below. 3:35 On Sunday, the Scottish Grand National is back. Fantastic scenes. A race with a great history. Some absolute favourites have won it. What was your favourite Scottish Grand National a winner over the years? My goodness me, do you remember Grey Abbey in 2004? Young Kenny before the turn of the millennium, some of my favourite horses. Lucinda, it's not been, however, since 2010 that there was a Scottish winner, Merrigo. Are you about to change that?
That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? I think we've got two they're good hopes in it, and I think I've just backed some with bet 365, so hopefully one of them will come through.
Great stuff. Well, let's talk about Mighty Thunder, shall we? I think first of all, shall we say he's the first string?
Yeah, I suppose he's he's still a novice chaser. He's the improving horse, and I think that's, so for the stats, that's probably a strong thing for him for the Scottish National. Big River, we know, will definitely stay the distance. He ran a very good race there a couple of years ago, and his jumping has been much better this season. So hopefully that'll help him.
How has Mighty Thunder come out of the Midlands Grand National? I mean, this is a horse that wears his heart on his sleeve. That's what I meant to get out there. And how exactly has he come out of it? Ground okay?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you would never think of running a horse in 3 4-mile races in a season, but actually came out of the Musselburgh, the Edinburgh National, really, really well, and he did the same out of Uttoxeter. He's just a horse that finds the long distances really easy. And I've actually just been out this morning cantering around the fields. I was on Big River, and Hannah, who always rides Mighty Thunder, was alongside me, and he was bucking and squealing and really carrying on. So he's definitely fresh and well. And you heard it here first. He's definitely in good form.
Big River's got a legion of supporters. Ex-editor of the Racing Post, Bruce Millington, is, I think, top of the #1 fan club, so we know he'll be getting backed. Paul Kealy, let's come to you for your thoughts on the big one.
Yeah, I mean, I like the novice angle, and I do quite like Mighty Thunder. Just my big worry was, without knowing that he was bucking and kicking, was the fact that he'd run in 2 4-mile races back to back, and heart on his sleeve stuff as well. Okay, he won very easily at Musselburgh, but that must have taken a lot out of him at Uttoxeter. He's run into a very, very well handicapped horse, and it looked a fair old battle. So I just sort of I wanted something a little bit fresher, and I came down on Soldier of Love. Obviously, Paul Nicholls has won this 3 times, including with the novice Vicente, who backed up the following year. And when you look at his form, he's very, very much a ground-dependent horse. All his form, he's run through the summer, and you wouldn't have had him down as a horse for this sort of race back then. But later in the summer, he started running in better races. He quite comfortably handled with Cool Cody and Irish Prophecy and at Newton Abbott in a decent race for that track, and then he was second to Galvin, only beaten 7 lengths off level weights at Cheltenham in October. Galvin came out and won the National Hunt Chase, and was anti-post 4-1 favourite for this when he'd have been giving £10 to Soldier of Love. So I think Soldier of Love is a fair value bet. I quite like the Ferry Master for Sandy Thompson as well. He was taken out of the Edinburgh National because the ground was too soft, and I'm assuming they just had to get a run into him in February when they ran him on soft ground at Haydock over 2.5 mile, because he's a proper stayer in the making. They'd be my 2 against the field, but it is 8-1 on field for the reason. Yeah,
I like the Ferry Master as well, Keels. I remember we both liked him for that 4-mile Edinburgh National, of course. Mighty Thunder comes into that equation. Sandy's also got Dingo Dollar in there as well. But definitely the Ferry Master for me. I think the ground, absolutely superb. Like him, think he'll stay all day. Pat Cooney.
Yeah, my eye is drawn to Not a Chance, who probably came to notoriety when he won at Warwick back in January, that classic chase. It's always a good race, that one. He was a big mover in the market that day. He won off 139. He pulled up lame next time out at Haydock, so we can draw a line through that. So he's only coming here on the back of 3 races this year. He's a 7-year-old. He's likely to race only the 7 races. Maybe the handicapper hasn't quite got him. 146. I could see him running a big race. And, when he did win at Warwick that day back in January, Alan King was quick to say his next target will be the Scottish National. So, yeah, he's got a P for pulled up by his name. Draw a line through that. Ignore that. Pretend that race didn't happen, something we say quite a bit, really, and he should be a shorter price. So Not a Chance has more than Not a Chance. He's a decent chance for me.
Right then, I promised waiting in the wings, and in this, you can hear it in the background in this Scottish Grand National preview. Now, it wouldn't be right without getting up the public's favourite horse, I think, going for this race. I don't think there's any doubt about that, because Harriet Graham joins us, trainer of Aye Right. Where are you, Harriet? There you are. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Yeah. We're all getting quite excited now that the countdown is on. I hasn't seen the declarations, but most of them were going to declare. I think top weight or second top weight. I think Lakeview Lad is in there, but I think there's still a little bit of doubt whether he will actually run because of the ground. So exciting times.
Well, top weight has been carried. Vicente, wasn't it, for Paul Nicholls not so long ago, did it? Yes, low weights tend to dominate in nationals, but it can be done. But let's just talk about the horse in particular, Aye Right. I mean, we should say he's 2 from 2 at Ayr, isn't he?
He's 2 from 2 at Ayr. Actually, this meeting last year, it must have been the hurdle when the one and only time he's really won a race from coming from behind. He was the outsider that day, and I think that's when he started to show his class there. So he's a great little horse. He's not a very big horse, but he does seem to be able to jump and gallop. Frustrating not to have actually won one this season, but we certainly come close, particularly at Doncaster, which was the one I think we were kind of hoping to win, but that didn't quite happen.
No, he was unfortunate that day. I think we can say that. Of course,
Sean Quinlan was clever, wasn't he? Sean Quinlan was very clever. He used us as something to aim at, and he got us. So, well done, Sean.
But the horse just doesn't, I mean, this is a cliche and perhaps one of the worst ones, but he generally doesn't know how to run a bad race. It's relatively early days for him still as a chaser, isn't it? Of course, Charlie Hall, he was a belter in that. He placed in the Ultima, he's off the same mark. We've seen that form boosted, of course. The second has come out and won really well since. Happy Go Lucky last week at Aintree. It's all there, isn't it? And what about stamina for the horse? Is he just going to do what he usually does? Heart on sleeve again, out we go.
I think so. I mean, the stamina, that's a question that will get answered on Sunday. We're not absolutely sure of it. But until you run them in the race, you don't actually know. But he points that he will stay. And I think he's got that lovely cruising speed. He's obviously been vulnerable at the finish, but he doesn't actually slow up. He's just had one or two sharper horses come by, and I think the extra few furlongs will help him, and he recovers really quickly from his races. So we kind of feel that it all points that he will stay, but until we actually try it, we don't know.
If everyone's going to have a fiver in the race, just to not sure what to back, and guarantee it's going to be Aye Right Harriet. And how do you feel about the public affection for a horse that's not actually won a race this season? It's remarkable, isn't it?
It's very flattering. I think it's because possibly, he's not from a big yard. He's got that lovely way of going. He takes the eye in a race because he's usually got his ears forward and he just enjoys it. And I think that people kind of notice him because of that. And he's maybe not the biggest horse either. Certainly at Weatherby's, the name was enormous. And I was watching him walk around the paddock and I thought, Jesus, these are giants. And their strides are much longer, but he's got that he's a bit like, it's probably over flattering him to compare him to Tiger Roll, but he's that type of tough little horse that keeps on trying all the time. And even when it hasn't gone quite right, he still toughs it out and he's just so brave.
Well, indeed. All right. So listen, when he goes and wins the Scottish Grand National on Sunday, you can celebrate in style. Happy days, Harriet Graham. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
Cheerio. Great to have Harriet Graham on. Aye Right. Isn't he a little star? Big calls. Let's go north of the border then. Lucinda Russell, take the floor with a big call for our viewers this week.
I think people should be very aware of how much better the horse welfare issue is, how the Grand National run really, really well, that they've altered the fences and actually it's really working. We don't have the folders that we used to have. Jockeys are riding better, the standard of the going is better, and the standard of veterinary care at home and at the racetrack has improved massively in the 20 years that I've been training.
Yeah, Kills, let's bring you in on this, because I remember speaking to you last Friday about the Grand National, and I remember you being very pro about the way it's been modified as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can go on social media and you get lots of old parts like me that have been moaning about, the race isn't what it was. You had Tony McCoy saying, that Tiger Roll shouldn't be compared to Red Run because, back in those days you couldn't even get round in the National. That's not necessarily a good thing, is it? I mean, fences like Beecher's Brook, for instance, they were, back then it was actually a trap. It was almost as if it was designed to bring horses to the ground. And I'm sure if you trained horses to run over that sort of fence every day, they'd steady up into every single one of them because they'd know what was coming at the end. And the fact that it's much easier to get over it now, it's still a test. There are horses that don't take to it. I remember I actually tipped him back one for Arthur in the Beecher chase the season that he won it, and he actually backed off the first couple. It took him a while to warm up. Some horses don't warm up at all, so it still takes a bit of getting knowing. But I think making it safer. I mean, one other thing I would do is I would ditch all water jumps. I can't stand them. I remember saying the other day that the mistake that Mr. Fisher made in the Ryanair could have ended a career, let alone his race chance. And I don't see the point in those either. But I mean, making the Grand National safer, I mean, it is a no-brainer, especially in the situation where we are now with people and how they are talking about welfare. And a lot of people will say we have become a little bit softer, I suppose, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, I totally agree. And Lucinda, let's go to you with water jumps and the final word of this. Is this just a dinosaur then?
I think actually we should get rid of them as well. I can't see the point of them. I suppose they're for spectators to be a big spectacle, and they always have them by the stands, and doesn't it look wonderful? But actually, I'm kind of with you on them. I don't see the value in them. They're not slowing a horse down or increasing the speed. They don't have to have any ability to jump a water jump. All they can do is make an error. And actually, you're right. I can't see the value in them now.
It's not a great sight, is it, seeing a horse leaving his back legs now in the water jump either? Okay, Keels, take the floor. Big call.
I just wanted to give a big up to a small trainer who, probably flies under the radar more than he should, and that's Stuart Edmonds. Doesn't have an awful lot of horses. He had 2 runners at Aintree last week. Both of them won. Both of them incredibly well backed. Roland Ward on the Friday pretty much halved in price before winning the conditional jockeys race in the last 5 minutes, and he came there swinging and got the job done. And then Hometown Boy was a very impressive winner. And I think, for a small trainer to own 2 horses at a festival like Aintree, come back with wins from both of them, I think it's a real good sign of just what a good trainer he is.
Edmonds, then, he's not far from me, Stuart. I know some of his owners, they love the experience with the Edmund game. Pat Cooney.
Yeah, well, there was 2 things, really. I thought, if I could mention a horse, first of all, at Leopardstown on Sunday, we had Bolshoi Ballet win the Group 3 Derby trial, or perceived classic trial. But the handicap was won by a stablemate, Sir Lamorak, half an hour later. And he carried more weight and won in a quicker time. So he was off a mark of 85 there, and he absolutely scooted up. So he's definitely a horse for Aidan O'Brien to pay attention to. I'm not sure he'll be in handicaps for too much longer. But the one I was interested in really was what with the big races being on Sunday this weekend at Ayr and Newbury, and just how much will the viewing figures will make for interesting reading. I know it's on ITV, but it could make Sunday racing come into fashion a little bit more. Maybe courses might decide to race Saturday, Sunday rather than Friday, Saturday. And of course, from our point of view at Bet365, we're happy to sponsor the Perth Gold Cup. So looking forward to seeing Lucinda there on Sunday, the 6th of June. So we're not adverse to putting our money in for Sunday racing as well. So I'll just be interested to see how the viewing figures go there. I'm sure you get a crowd, whatever happens.
I'll tell you what, I reckon you're on a retainer for Perth, Pat. Yes. We always get a good mention of Perth in Newbury for Bet365. Happy days. You mentioned the flat there in Leopardstown. I was really impressed by a horse called Southern Lights of Joseph O'Brien's, who won the Colts Maiden, the 235 there on Wednesday. Check that out. It was really easy to back. He was expected to need the run. He is another Group 1 horse in the making for Joseph O'Brien. And I don't want to bore you with this, but I saw the Dewhurst form get boosted this week in the Craven Stakes and other places in Newmarket as well. Thunder Moon for the Guineas. Let's hope the sun stays out. Time for another Guineas trial, this time the 1,000, and the fillies' time to shine as well. It is the Fred Darling. Paul Kealy, give us some help.
This is one of those races that you can often get a shock in. You get these lightly raced sorts with only 1 run to their name, and they improve past some of the others. And a lot of the time, you get horses with doubtful stayers in this. Obviously, Tiggy Wiggy was a short price beaten favourite in it. Bashara, I think Rosdu Queen, for William Haggas. They were all short price favourites, beaten, but they were never going to stay. I'm not sure you can say that about Alcohol Free. She might be buy no, nay, never, but his Wichita went very close in the Guineas last year, and most of his horses you'd fancy to stay 7 furlongs. And although I think there may be a doubt over her over a mile, I don't think there is here for 7 furlongs. She only made a debut in August last year, so she was a midsummer debut. Suggests that she's a 3-year-old rather than a 2-year-old. Not entirely true about some of the others with form here. So I'd suggest she's the one most open to improvement, and she's the one with the best form in the race. I think she's going to be very, very hard to beat. She might be the first favourite to win since Dabio in 2017, who's got a very, very similar profile. She was rated 112 after just 3 runs starting in midsummer the previous year as a 2-year-old. I think she's very, very much the one to beat.
Yeah, it's from a firm as well, isn't it, Kills, that can get them ready as well. Uncle Thumb was just behind last time out. Can she reverse the form? Not sure. I like the look of Lucid Dreamer, though. I've got to say that. Roger Charlton, Jason Watson had the third in the nail win at the Craven meeting. I think this one's probably more forward than that from what I'm hearing, and she's won at the course as well. She'll do for me at a price in, let's face it, a slightly informative race more than a betting heat. I think we could say that still at this time of the year, unless Pat Cooney has different ideas.
Yeah, well, the one thing I would say about this race, and Alcohol Free in particular, is that there was real good support for her from people in the know, shall we say, in the 1,000 guineas. She was about 16 to 1 a few weeks ago. She's now around about 10 or 11. Whatever you think about a guineas chance, and on her breeding, it's a bit of a question mark whether she'll get the mile. We've just got to worry about the Fred Darling, haven't we? Whether she'll get 7 furlongs. She looks as though she will. She ran on good and strong to the line at Newmarket last time she ran, and she's going uphill in bad ground that day. It all points to a massive run from Alcohol Free. We've priced her as favourite, taking very much into account that there was the move for the guineas for her. So clearly she's sending out the right sort of signals for Andrew Balding. I suppose Happy Romance has a chance, so you could maybe draw a line through that one's last race of the season. Maybe it had too much racing, but it got good course form. That might be a player. Richard Hannon seemed to be quite optimistic about having a good run from her, but it all seems to point towards a massive run from Alcohol Free. I think she's very hard to get away from.
Look for a hardening at the top of the market then for the Jolly in the Fred Darling. Time for the Colts to come out in the Greenham at Newbury. And of course, was it 10 years ago, Kills, that Frankel won this?
Must be something like that, yeah. Yeah, 2011. Frankel, 4-1 on favourite. Beat Celebration, who, well, any of these will be... If you owned any of these, you'd be happy if any of them got within £7 of how good Celebration is, let alone Frankel. Doubt we're going to have a race of that level this year.
Who could do it though, Keels? Who's the one that you're expecting to really step up this year then?
Well, I think Chindit is the most obvious one, isn't he? For Richard Hannon, some good runs last year. Won the first 3, won the Champagne Stakes pretty well at Doncaster. May not have handled the ground. Don't think it handled the track at Goodwood in the Dewhurst. Went only 9th, and I mean that has to be a worry for the Guineas. I'd be wondering whether Richard Hannon was thinking of the French or the Irish rather than the British Guineas, because he didn't look like he handled that. But his form is very good otherwise. So he's the one to beat for a yard that can obviously get them ready for classic trials in the spring. I did think, Rhythm Master always looked like it was going to be a better horse this year than last year, and was very highly tried pretty quickly. I mean, just won a Mickey Mouse race at Haydock in July, and then ran straight in the Group 1 at Dover in the pre-morning, finishing 3rd, not beaten far by Campanelle. Has formed to turn around with Alchemate in the Mill Reef from September, but I don't think he quite ran his race there after that run in France. And he'll come here fresh. I think the extra furlong's definitely going to suit him. Might not suit Alchemate.
Well, that's interesting. I think the ground probably went for those horses as well, didn't it, in the Dewhurst? I can see Alchemate running a big race. It's just you don't know how forward the Tregonning horses are at the moment. I probably, yeah, they are interesting. Nando Parado is a horse that interests me. That was the highest price winner of all time at Royal Ascot when he took out the Coventry Stakes. He was beaten into second twice after that. But he's bred to stay, this chap. I know they're happy with him. Adam Kirby, he'll do for me on a track that suits. I can see him. He's constantly underrated still, this horse. Maybe he's the one. Pat Cooney.
Yeah, you look at the front two, don't you? Chindit and Alchemate. They've both got to come off disappointing on the face of it runs on their final races. But with Chindit, he was all over the place at Newmarket, wasn't he? He didn't handle the dip. The ground was wrong. A disappointing run. Alchemate, the ground was just simply too soft for him. I think Connections felt on the bound to have a crack at the race. You know, you look at this race and you think, we could just get a result, couldn't we? Chindit's got to prove himself again. I don't know. I quite like the idea of Rhythm Master. Nothing wrong with PJ McDonald aboard. He had a treble at Newcastle on Thursday evening. Maybe he's a degree of value, but you look at Chindit. If he hadn't have run last time out, I don't think he would have been much shorter anyway in the race. I think we've all drawn a line through it, but nevertheless, he has a point to prove. As for the 2,000 guineas, I agree with Keels. It's not all about Chindit winning this and going on to Newmarket. Connections might say he's too quick. We'll drop him down for a Commonwealth Cup campaign. All we got to do is find the winner of this race, and I think Rhythm Master, you can make a plausible case out for him at a price.
Exciting time of year then for the flat fans. The sun is shining on Sunday at Newbury. 2:45, it's the Greenham. Let a new star emerge. Weekend winner time then. I'll take the floor if you don't mind. On Saturday, yes, there is still some racing on Saturday at the Curragh Group 3 Gladness Stakes. Look no further, 2:35 Lancaster House. Needs to be fresh, this horse. Got his ground for Team Aidan O'Brien. Paul Kealy.
Yeah, I'm going to go for time work for Paul Nicholls in the Scottish Champion.
Big case made by Kills then. Happy days. Pat Cooney.
Yeah, normally I'd go for unexposed young horses. So I'm going to go completely other end of the spectrum to hit this one. 4:20 at Brighton. I'm going for a horse who's had 93 races and is a 10-year-old, which defies anything I ever normally work to. And that's Shamson of Stuart Williams. And I just look at the race. He's had 4 races here at Brighton in his career. 1 win, placed in the other 2 of the other 3. He's the only horse running to a consistent level. Stuart Williams is banging in the winners. The more I looked at the race, I thought, I just cannot see him getting beaten. He's running ever so well on the all-weather. A 10-year-old, not normally my style, but I just think he'll win. There we go. Shamson in the opener at Brighton tomorrow.
There you go, you flat fans that have been waiting for Brighton to come back. You've just been given the winner of the opener. Complete the quintet, please, Lucinda Russell.
I'm so sad. I'm going to go for my own horse. I'm going to go for Mighty Thunder in the Scottish National. I think he loves the distance. I think he'll be okay on the ground. I know he's won on heavy, but I think the good soft ground will bring out the best in him. And I think he's going to be a good price with Bet365 and all the other betting companies.
There we go. Happy days. Mighty Thunder in the Scottish Grand National. More confidence coming from the trainer. Well, that's all we've got time for this weekend's What a Shout. Not quite as we know it, but we promise you a bumper show. Let's hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, like and subscribe on YouTube. That's what it's all about. Anything Twitter, let us know. Keep your feedback coming in for the panel. Hashtag What a Shout. You'll find us out there. Lucinda Russell, thanks so much for joining us. And good luck on Sunday.
Thank you very much. It's been great fun. Thank you.
Scoo, you can put the script down now. You can get out of the room. Okay, Pat Cooney, thanks for coming back this week.
Yes, lovely stuff. Enjoyed it, and good weekend ahead, hopefully, for us all.
Happy days. Hopefully you're paying out Lucinda on Monday morning. Keels, great to have you. You're going to come back in the office soon, Keels?
Yeah, I'll come in next week, mate, but I'm going to go and play some golf now.
What a surprise. The sun is shining. Let's hope you enjoy the sport, but don't forget, gamble responsibly. That's what it's all about. Don't forget, you can download the free must-have Racing Post app. You can do it on the App Store or the Google Play Store itself. Until then, for myself, Dave Orton, enjoy that sport.